Welcome to 99% Sure. Today we're talking about The Last Jedi. I thought it was alright.
I was pretty disappointed.
99% sure.
I don't know how you feel about 7.
I didn't like it, but I think when I first saw it, I was okay with it, but the more I thought about it after, it was like, yeah, I really don't like this.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. We'll probably do a review of 7 soon. Let's get into it. Go ahead. I'll hand it to you.
Yeah, so from here on out, obviously, spoiler warning, you've been warned. We'll start with what I liked. I loved really only 3 things in this movie. The first being the fight where Rey and Kylo team up. It was the coolest thing. Light and dark combining together for one fight. I really liked that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah? Keep going.
Yeah. So that was one of the things I loved. The second was Luke when he comes out of their little hiding cave or whatever, and all the walkers are shooting him all at the exact same time, and then he just steps out and dusts his shoulder off. I thought that was a super awesome moment.
Okay.
And then I loved the setup for Finn's like he's gonna sacrifice himself to save everybody. But the caveat with all 3 of these things is that I felt like they totally ruined every one of these moments. But we'll get into that. What did you like about the movie?
Yeah, I agree. I think first watch, I thought it was at least better than 7, and I actually enjoyed watching most of it. And I think the reason was the same reason that most people absolutely hated it, and that was that it went in a different direction than what you expected.
Sure.
At a lot of points in the film, which is good and bad. To me, it was good because I'm kind of tired of seeing the same thing over and over. To most people, it was bad because if they liked 7, everything in 7 is gone, right? And they threw it all out the window.
Right.
But that's honestly kind of what I liked. Like, for example, they killed Snoke. I thought he was a clown. I don't think they set him up correctly at all. I wasn't scared of him, and he wasn't as cool as the Emperor or even close. He's just some random CGI, hunchback of Notre Dame.
Who's apparently incredibly powerful with the Force.
Yeah, whatever. That doesn't even mean anything. So is Rey, I guess, for no reason.
Right.
So is... I mean, they just introduce people and all of a sudden they're the most powerful we've ever seen. But it's like, what does that mean? There's no bar. We don't have a... You know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying with Snoke. It makes a lot of sense.
I liked that. I thought it was cool that they killed him now. I hated that they're all of a sudden it's the same dynamic. So, in my mind, they should have killed him. Then it was like there was no light and dark, which there's themes of that throughout the movie, but they don't commit to it at all.
Right.
They just make now, Kylo's the new big baddie, which is not really believable, although I think he did way better in this movie. 7, I hated him, and I think most people did. Here, I think his acting and his writing and his aura in the movie was a lot more enticing, and I think he did it a lot better job, like somebody who has a position of power, etc.
I mean, I agree, but I disagree at the same time. I think Kylo is only better in this film because he's more human. It's because of his relationship with Rey that he is more interesting. Honestly, and we're going to get into a lot of these points or whatever, but you kind of covered a whole bunch of stuff there. Let's start with Snoke, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, okay, Snoke, huge, they had all this build up in 7, and like we already talked about, we didn't like 7, right? 7 was ultimately just, kind of a reboot. Nothing really mattered in the previous trilogy. And then immediately following 7, nothing matters in 7, and it's all kind of different now again.
Yeah.
So that's great. We're just, bouncing all over the place. And again, I don't mind, changing things up. I appreciate the tweaks to the formula, right? I'm cool with that.
Sure.
I think they should go in different directions and be fine with it, but then they commit to it. They need to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And not just, oh, hey... Maybe there is no light and dark. Just kidding. It's just gonna be Rey versus Kylo in the end.
It's almost like Rian Johnson, the director, he had a pride trip or something. He wanted it to be all his ideas, so he threw out JJ's, but at first you're like, oh, he wants to make a different Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
But then by the end of the movie, you're like, oh, he wanted to be in charge.
right.
He wanted the same Star Wars movie, but he wanted to establish it was his idea instead of JJ's.
I guess. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
'Cause
sure.
That's
Like,
kind of explains the different paths, but without the commitment to something actually
Sure.
completely different.
I feel like the thing is, at this point, so many different people have different ideas of where the series should head, and I don't know. I mean, they're just not on the same page.
They're going to keep making them.
Well,
Yeah.
of course
They
they are,
make
and we'll
money,
get into
whatever.
that too. But anyway, so Snoke, I personally would have, I would have wanted more from Snoke. I was excited to see where he came from, like what, who is this character, and then literally we get none of that. We don't get to know anything about why he's so powerful, and yet has never been in any of the past Star Wars movies ever. Like what? There's just this being who's so powerful with the dark side of the Force, and no one encounters him ever, right? Like,
Yeah.
why? And where did he come? Is he from a
Yeah.
different galaxy? Like, what's going on? And then none of that's answered because Kylo just kills him immediately.
The reason I liked that was because I didn't like him in 7 at all.
But that's fine, but why not just make him an interesting character, then?
Well, sure, they could have gone two ways, but how much can they really focus on Snoke when they've got Finn to focus on?
Oh my gosh! when
Hold on.
when they have to focus on
Right, but my point is, like, how much time can you really spend not only developing, but also explaining Snoke? When we got none of that in 7 either. He was just mysterious.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, I hated him, he's dead, I liked it. However, kind of stupid, because he's supposed to be whatever, he's the Dumbledore, of like a Star Wars or whatever.
the Dumbledore.
Like, just powerful, the guy.
Sure, okay.
But he can't see this moving. He can't hear or see
Right.
the lightsaber.
It's all that face damage.
Yeah, and then, which is like kind of corny, I guess, but I think they filmed it. That's another thing. Okay, we're disagreeing, whatever. That was one of the points I kind of liked. Back to what I did like. I think it was filmed well. I think
Oh, sure. Yeah.
cinematography-wise, really well done. Really well done. And there's parts that felt prequel-y. I grew up with the prequels, so I don't hate them as much as most people. But cinematography-wise, prequels are trash. These new ones are better.
Yeah.
A
Oh,
lot
yeah.
better.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they have just so much more production value.
Artsy, yeah, great, value in the production, etc. I really like the sand scene, the contrast between the colors. Whoever, came up with that
The sand scene.
was genius. The red planet sand,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, with like the salt dust.
really,
everywhere.
just
Yeah.
design-wise, very clever.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Visually impressive.
Action, as far as like the action goes, there was that one scene with Rey and with Kylo teaming up. It was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. I don't know.
Well,
I
it
kinda
was unexpected too, because like okay, even if the one downside to that I thought was just the way that Snoke died. I thought that was stupid. But if Snoke had died in some other way, Kylo kills him still, whatever, and then they team up, like that's. I mean, it was different. It was unexpected. I never like.
Yeah, I
Would've
agree. I
envisioned that
liked
happening.
it. Speaking technically, like as far as the choreography, I thought it was okay. I kind of hold the bar at like Episode 3, the lightsaber battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Sure.
Like just like kind of sort of incredible.
Yeah.
Although they could have made that better, probably. But
The issue there's
with the
different
editing and
issues
stuff,
with that, but yeah.
that's different. My point is like, as far as technically, it was okay. I guess it was as good as they could have been because really Rey has no training whatsoever.
right. That's
And
different.
Kylo is supposed to have been, I guess, fully trained by now, maybe.
Yeah, he was supposed to have
We don't
like, been
know.
completing his training or
So
whatever.
that's stupid, but I like them teaming up. It had an emotional impact.
Well, they built up to
I
it
liked
too.
the relationship they developed throughout the movie. I
Yeah.
thought that worked really well. Anything else I liked about the movie? Not really. It was pretty bad. Luke, I liked and hated.
Right, okay, so I have, there's a couple of different things. So those 3 points I loved until they ruined them, right? It was their Kylo and Rey team up until the very end of it where they go back to the light versus dark, where he's like, oh, I'm still going to be dark and evil, and Rey's like, no, don't do it, whatever.
Yeah.
I hated that.
Yeah.
Luke blocking the Walker lasers was phenomenal until they ruined it. He's just some sort of force projection, can't be harmed. I thought it was so amazing
Yeah.
that like we were gonna see this amazing spectacle of raw force power just blocking all of these laser blasts at the same time, and then totally ruined. And then Finn, like a final sacrifice, something good to end his, commitment to the Resistance and his final, like, I'm leaving I've left the First Order, I'm abandoning them totally against them, and, blows up the battering ram cannon or whatever. That would have been amazing. They should have done it. Why they didn't pains me. I have no idea why they wouldn't just let him complete his arc. And then Rose just swoops in and ruins it. So,
which, by the way, Rose, come on.
Yeah.
Worst addition ever. Terrible actor. Terrible love story. Terrible side story.
No chemistry whatsoever. I
hate Finn. Finn's a terrible actor.
We haven't even gotten into what I don't like about the movie.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so some smaller things that I liked but didn't really love. The new force powers that they introduced, some of them were really, really cool. Like, I loved the force mind connection that they had. I thought that was really clever. It was done well cinematically.
Yep.
And it was a good way of creating a bond between Rey and Kylo without them being in the same physical space. I thought that was super, really interesting.
Yep.
Force projection I actually kind of like. I thought that was another unique idea that has never been, explored in the Star Wars universe. Just Luke projecting himself or whatever. And then, of course, the blaster protection where Luke, stops all the lasers, but of course that was fake, so it, wasn't even really a force power. Yeah,
nope.
No. I liked Mark Hamill, but I hated Luke Skywalker. I mean, that's kind of my distinction. I thought Mark Hamill did a great job.
Oh, you mean as
an acting? I thought he played the role really well.
Yeah, I thought he did good.
Yeah, but for the most part, I didn't really like Luke. What else did I like? I liked basically everything surrounding Kylo Ren, which is kind of interesting because I really didn't like him in Episode 7.
Yeah.
But he really pulled through. His conflict seemed a lot more believable. Just kind of like the light versus dark. You didn't really know which way he was going to go until the very end when he betrays his master, but ultimately chooses dark again. So it's like, I don't know, it's still confusing.
Yeah.
But
honestly, in my opinion, the two people that stand out the most in this film would be Luke, obviously, because he had no role prior. So to not pay attention to him this movie would be strange. And then Kylo, to me, had the best development.
Yeah.
Then, of course, to be sort of ruined. But throughout,
right, yeah.
It overshadowed Rey, in my opinion, which, by the way, Rey was my favorite part about 7 by far.
Yeah.
So, I guess maybe didn't love Rey in this one. Well, I guess they didn't give her what she needed.
I agree.
Okay, go ahead.
But part of that was more of the disappointment with Luke, I think, than the disappointment with Rey. I felt like she kind of did what she could. But the thing is, I felt like Kylo and Rey improved each other. It was their communication and their relationship that I thought bettered both the characters.
Cool.
Okay. Other things I liked. I liked the new creatures. Crystal foxes were kind of cool. The porgs, I take them or leave them. I mean, they were kind of funny in certain moments, but other than that, I don't know why people make a big deal about them.
Didn't love them, didn't hate them.
Yeah, either way.
Yep.
And I really like Snoke's Royal Guards. They're red armor or whatever. Because
isn't that traditional?
Yeah, it is. But the Emperor has always had Royal Guards, and they're supposed to be super powerful, but we've never really seen them in action.
Okay.
And so to see them really come to fight.
You enjoyed seeing them.
I did see that. I did like that.
Okay.
And then the last thing that I liked about this movie was. This is just one of those things that's kind of different about this movie, but again, they didn't fully commit to it. They could have done so much more with this, but that was sort of the shift towards, there's no difference between the light and the dark side of the Force. The reality is they're really just one Force, and that it's all about, who you're defending, what you're fighting for, and kind of what your side is and everything. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth on it because on one side I really like Yoda's original teachings, which is the dark side is quick and easy and seductive, and you use your anger and everything, and so it's ultimately self-serving, but at the risk of sacrificing what you really care about. And we see Anakin in the prequels kind of go down that dark path. But in this movie, it's like, okay, we're kind of throwing that out the window. Rey is sort of accepting the dark side or whatever. To be fair, though, they sort of do this in the Return of the Jedi. Luke, at the very end, sort of embraces the dark side when he's fighting Darth Vader, but he does it like for the right reasons or whatever. You know?
Yeah,
Which,
so they've always kind of had the theme, but although, yeah, I kind of get what you're saying.
yeah,
It's one way and the other. There's two sides of the coin.
I guess my final opinion on it is the movie would have been so much better if at the very end Kylo and Rey teamed up and like really joined forces and we're like, okay, we're buddies now.
Yeah.
We're going to do, and then they pick a side, right? They're either going to stay with the First Order, or they're going to abandon the First Order and like help rebuild the Republic. But either way, they're together, and I think that would have been a much more interesting movie.
I agree for the most part. I think the whole kind of motif or side, theme of this light versus dark, it doesn't actually exist. The light have always been terrible. They suck. I liked it, and it's true to some extent.
Yeah.
And I think you can kind of relate to that in real life or whatever. But
but again, they don't commit to any change in the formula.
Yeah, the problem is they ruined it, of course. And like we've said, we've been saying it over and over. They just didn't commit.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep it rolling.
Okay.
Let's get into what we actually didn't like. Now that, keep in mind, was everything we liked.
Right.
Ish.
I mean, there's just 5 things.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. What we disliked. The funny thing is too is while we were talking about what we liked, we kept talking about what we didn't like.
We can't not.
Right. So this movie to me, I only watched it once, right? But I sat up at the very end of it and was just utterly heartbroken. Like it was a pretty big disappointment for me. I tried to go in with low expectations because that just makes it for a more enjoyable movie when you go in with lower expectations and you're surprised or satisfied. But I was really hoping after Rogue One, I mean, which is probably my favorite Star Wars movie, Rogue One, and it's not even like a perfect movie by any standard, but I thought they were really going to get their act together and do it right, do their homework, and put a good movie together. But ultimately, it just seemed like
why did Rogue One succeed where others fail? It might be because it was all new characters. They had nothing
that's
they
true.
had nothing to lose, so they made a technically beautiful movie, or production-wise, cinematically beautiful movie. I think The Last Jedi did the same. They just didn't have Luke Skywalker. They didn't have the chance to do it wrong.
I guess that's true.
They just have these random characters. It's like, oh, I kind of like this guy that says Force is one, the one with the Force.
That's true, yeah.
So they
didn't have to write over
the
mistakes of previous. Yeah, okay.
They didn't have as much writing on it, and I think it's easier to get away with that. Although I did like Rogue One. The one thing I hated about Rogue One was that there was no Jedi. That was the one thing I really missed.
The wrong era for good movie.
Anyways,
okay, so things I didn't like. I liked some of the new Force powers. I didn't like some of the other Force powers. Apparently, Force ghosts can wield incredible power.
I like that.
I didn't like it. It just seemed like why isn't Obi-Wan and Yoda out there fighting the First Order just by themselves?
That's not what it's about. They never appear in combat. They always appear when somebody
needs them.
But not even just somebody. It's like someone that's one of them, right? So like a Luke or an Anakin or an Obi-Wan. It's like
either way,
because they all are the one with another.
Well, okay, hold on. There's some debate to that because Obi-Wan doesn't necessarily appear, but he certainly is vocal during combat, right? When Luke is trying to destroy the first Death Star, right? And he's like, "Use the Force, Luke," or whatever, and he's talking to him. Okay, he doesn't interfere or whatever, but he's still there. And if Yoda can just pop out of nowhere and destroy this tree, completely incinerate it, I don't know. It just seems like a potential plot hole that didn't need to be created, in my mind.
I liked Yoda in it, and I liked that he could do that. I don't know. I don't totally agree. I think who are we to put the boundaries on the Force ghosts? I mean, why can they even do that in the first place?
Yeah, I don't know.
They're dead, aren't they?
Yeah, they're.
So why? Who are we to set the boundary of like what they can and
Well,
can't
I
do?
mean, what we can determine though is clearly what their motive is. They want to help the good side, right? They want to help Luke. They want to help Rey, right? So, but they only go as far as to destroy something just to send a message.
No, they were teaching Luke. He was
Right, I
teaching
know. That's
Luke
exactly what I'm saying. Is like that the extent of their power is just to teach, and I can be okay with that. But at the same time, it's like if I knew that there was never an instance where they could just literally blow something up, and all they can do is just appear and give counsel or whatever. Fine, then it's like okay, I believe you. Like they're here just to teach people. They're not trying to But it's not like there could be more that they could do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my whole thing. Because, obviously they're dead and they're supposed to be past, but they're not because they keep coming around. You know what I mean? Anyway.
I don't know.
We disagree, but that's its own thing. The other Force power, Leia.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't even get into that.
No, not yet. So Leia doing the frickin' she's unconscious and then Mary Poppins her way back into the spacecraft or whatever.
Okay, hold on. I watched that the first time and thought something different than most people. So most people saw that and said, okay, it looks stupid. It looks goofy. What the heck? Agree, but when I first watched it, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool because Leia has Force and she always has.
Yeah.
So that was my first initial thought. Now, could they have done it better? Yeah. How about if Leia was walking out of that room at the time it was being blown up, and she while it was being blown up, maybe she grabbed the door and she was having a hard time, and then you could see her maybe you see her face zone, and then she could get in while everyone else is dying.
Sure.
It didn't have to be she's out in space. Of course, she's dead 100 different ways, but she isn't.
Right.
It didn't have to be so dramatic. They could have been way more subtle and have the same or maybe even more impactful message.
I mean, this is going maybe even a step further, and it almost felt like an insult to Carrie Fisher, just because we know that she's dead, right? And
okay, hold on. She filmed it though. She was alive at the time.
I know, but that doesn't mean
I don't know if it's an insult to her. I mean, they could have killed her off, but would it be more insulting to not put in her footage that she worked on and just kill her there?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. See, that's the thing though. But it seems odd to have a near-death experience. I don't know. I'm probably wrong on that, and it probably is really nothing. But at the same time, it's why did she have to be so near death? For that to...
Well, that's what I was just saying. They could have done it more subtle.
Yeah.
And had the same message. Although, again, they did it wrong because she should have died. The whole rest of the movie, she had no purpose.
I know. Right. Exactly.
If you're going to bring her back in some miraculous way, which, by the way, corny, there's 2 steps to make that work. Subtle it down. Carve off the edges. It's too sharp. Right? Then, from there... Make her do something.
Right, actually include her in the story.
Have an impact.
Why is she in a coma for the whole thing?
Frustrating. Okay, stupid. We can agree that mostly they just did it stupid.
Yeah, that's absolutely
okay.
True.
Keep going.
Okay. I'm of 2 minds of this particular point, which is the weaponized light speed. Right. There's at one point where purple hair lady. Right. I don't even remember who she is, but she.
Yeah, I forget her name.
Vice.
Whatever.
President or whatever, she's gonna sacrifice herself and light speeds through basically the entire armada of the First Order and just destroys them all in one blow. Okay, really cool scene. I mean, done. I thought it was really well. It's silent when it happens, right? And so it's even more impactful.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's really well done. But I dislike the plot holes created by this moment, right?
Why couldn't they?
Why would they never do this earlier, right? They literally just as they're going, you see them leave abandoned ships behind because they're like out of fuel or whatever. But why not have like autopiloted one of those, turned them around like before they run out of fuel,
I've
and
heard
just
it
start?
has to do with the amount of mass because the ship was
Okay, fine, but
larger.
they don't
and
have
was
to
able
kill
to
it.
do that. Whereas I think I've heard someone talking about prior movies. I think Rogue One maybe there was a light speed into a ship. Because the ship was much smaller, it just bounced off or something.
No, but here's the no. That was different. I know what scene they're talking about, and that is when Darth Vader's his Star Destroyer comes out of light speed into another ship, and but it doesn't go through that ship. It just comes out of light speed just as the other one is like about to take off, and it crumbles because it hits the Star Destroyer.
Okay, so kind of different.
So totally different.
All right, I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, like
I don't know.
even if it took a big ship, you could destroy a Death Star this way. You don't need to shoot a thing through the air vent or whatever. You could literally send any number of ships through the Death Star.
Well, one, it's a suicide mission. So
No, it doesn't have to be if you do an autopilot. Or send R2D2. R2D2 can fly the ship by himself. Sacrifice a droid. It's not that it's seriously no problem at all.
To be fair, R2D2 is better than any character in the new series.
Okay, well then do R4.
Send Finn.
Finn. Right. Any number of possibilities here.
Okay, agree to disagree. I don't think they could send it to the Death Star. I think they just did it. I liked it because there's something I hadn't seen. Again, why haven't they done it before? Well, they probably didn't think of it. I think there's room for improvement. I also think there's room for new additions. If there isn't room, then what are we doing? Why are we watching these?
Well, okay.
Are we so set on like nostalgia and like these was the coolest thing
No, I
ever?
understand, but again, I'm cool with them introducing new technology. Even technology as lame as like tracking through light speed, fine. Okay?
That was stupid.
Right, it's stupid, but it's new. I would also be okay with them introducing light speed missiles. You know what I mean? But it's like it's a different thing. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, just I don't like plot holes being created by new ideas. That's all. Like, new ideas are great, but they just need to be like consistent with the existing rules.
Okay, so overall, you didn't like that part.
I didn't like it because of the concept.
All right.
I loved the scene, though. I mean, it was really well done.
Keep pushing.
Okay. So then the next thing that I didn't like is I'm gonna go with the opening battle. Right. I just didn't like it. I didn't think it was very good. I didn't like Poe joking with General Hugs or whatever and making him look like a fool or whatever. It was funny, fine, whatever. I just didn't like it.
I liked it. Now, there's so many like debates. The humor, like 8 versus 7. Period. Disney movies, they're gonna have this stupid writing in it. That doesn't mean every movie has to work. For example, a movie I hated or thought was terrible, which is also Disney, a lot of Marvel movies. I don't know, probably 80% of the Marvel movies I think they're poorly written and they're not funny at all, but they want to be. But Thor, the recent Thor movie, was really funny.
Yeah, Ragnarok.
Really funny, really well directed. I love that movie. Yeah, but it's a random third one in a series that's been so saturated.
Yeah.
So, okay, back to my point. 7 or 8, the humor, I don't know. It's similar, but to me, 8 worked a lot better. I don't know why. I just thought it did. I found myself laughing more in 8 than I did in 7. Did it fit? Did it need to be there? No and no. I hate it. I don't think they need to do that. They do that because people get bored, Yeah. So they need to laugh and they need to eat their shovel their popcorn in and I think it's stupid. And I think you have to treat an audience like a child these days.
Yeah.
Watch a Chris Nolan movie.
Right.
When are you? Heck no. Heck no.
Well, the funny thing is, there are funny movie moments.
They're done right.
But they're done. I mean, they're smart.
They're done right.
Yeah.
That's all. So again, I liked it. I thought that the humor worked better in this movie. I think for 2 reasons: the writing was better and the acting, for the most part, was better. Agreed. It was kind of stupid and pointless, the beginning fight. But to be fair, the whole sort of plot was stupid and
And
pointless.
we're gonna go into that later.
Chase the plane, or whatever, chase the
Right.
ship. I said it like this because this has been huge. Like, the whole movie was pointless. Why couldn't they have just done this? Why couldn't she have told them the plan, etc.?
Yeah.
Star Wars struggles with being original. Really
Oh, yeah.
struggles. The prequels were original because they had a
Right.
different. The
whole universe was
followed
different.
Anakin's story, so there was really no Death Star. There was no blowing up planets for the most part. It was all about the Jedi and the Jedi Order, which I prefer, to be honest,
Well,
because I love Jedi. However, the prequels are worse. To get back to my original point, so many people hated the prequels, so they're like, okay, we have to really coddle the originals, and we have to hold them to the highest standard, and we have to do them again. 7 is the same as 4. Let's do the movie again. Let's put a girl in.
Arguably, this movie was 5 and 6 combined.
Yeah, so here's my point. The original Star Wars have really struggled with originality, so there's really 2 things that can make anybody worried. 1, they're going to blow my planet up, or 2, they're going to blow my ship up. That's all we ever see, both of which are stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, blowing their ship up was, okay, we'll go into it later. But anyway, the final thing that I didn't like was this push towards what I'm calling Star Wars Infinity, okay? Which is everyone's a Jedi. Anyone can use the Force, or they're coming from everywhere. We're ditching the entire, bloodline thing, which, I don't know. I'm cool with, finding different, peoples who have more Jedi Force powers than others or whatever. That's fine, but,
Midi-chlorian level.
No, I hate that's dumb. But I don't know. Anyway, just I thought it was, it's cute or whatever. Like the boy at the very end, he's forces his broom into his hand or whatever, and he's somehow just a little kid Jedi, but he's on some forgotten casino planet, who knows what, and he's a slave boy, reminiscent of Anakin in a way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's they're just gonna push this forever. There's no end in sight, and that was the problem I had with it. Is there's gonna be stories from everywhere, and there's no major arc, and the galaxy will be in turmoil for as long as we can ever. There's always gonna be, it's just. The problem is that's the way it's going to go because that's where the money is. They're doing it with Marvel. They're going to do it with Star Wars. Just pump out as many movies they possibly can.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't like with it. I want to see completion. I don't want it to be cliffhanger and then we're making 4 sub-series that are based on, whoever we want.
I agree, but it's I think of it this way. We can either embrace it or we can stop watching the movies because there's no way for them not to do that.
Well, of course.
They just can't keep throwing families in there that we don't care about. The only reason we care about Skywalker is because that's who Luke was.
And Anakin.
Yeah, but Anakin barely. It was mostly just...
Well,
we cared about Luke and we cared about Darth Vader, but we didn't know Darth Vader was actually Luke's dad until later, and then it was Anakin.
Right.
And then the prequels was and then we kind of started hating it, the Skywalker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There it's you keep drawing it out. Han Solo or Ben Solo, blah, blah, blah.
We're just following the same families. And I'm cool with the shift.
I think there's no other way to do it, period. So it's you can complain about it all day, but they couldn't have taken it any other way because it's either do the same thing again and again and again and again and again where it's they try and build a whole series about...
Okay.
New family. Skywalker's out, so it's Piewalker, it's Flywalker. Or they could just be more significant, intimate movies with new people every time.
Yeah, well, that's actually what I want, right?
Okay, well, that seems to contradict what you just said.
No, but what I'm talking about is more specifically, it's almost like an undertone. It's just this message that it's you can be a Jedi. You know what I mean? It's...
I didn't get that,
well,
but I guess kids would.
Right.
They saw it.
Exactly. It's just...
I think it's okay. I think it opens it up for more creative and more inventive Star Wars movies down the line because they're making them, period. They're going to make them.
That's true.
What are there, 9 now? 10? Yeah. How many of them are good, too? Maybe? How many of them are actually good movies?
Yeah,
Forget the memories, forget the nostalgia, forget the like this was the only thing we had at the time stuff. That's not true anymore. By the way, CGI, what is happening? CGI.
Right? Well, I mean,
and standards of that.
We
it's
need
like
to have
slipping.
a deep discussion on that too. Like, I mean,
Okay.
we watched Jurassic Park recently, and it's like it still holds up. I mean, it's amazing what they were able to do. Like, and Star Wars was one of the first movies that introduced CGI characters ever, right? In any movie.
I don't know. I've never researched that.
From what I've seen, that's basically the case.
I can't say that definitively. What I will say is, my main example I like to use. I recently watched Life of Pi with my wife. She never saw it. The tiger on the boat with the kid. The tiger's real. Now the tiger isn't real, obviously. But it's like, what was that done? Late 2012, early 2013? What are we in now? We're in 2018, day one. So to me, there's been no improvement. And a lot of the time, there's been a massive
well, they're trying to do it
downgrade.
Cheaply. That's the problem.
And it's frustrating. And it's, I don't know. It's annoying. But that's neither here nor there.
If we ever do Justice League, well, I'm sure we'll get much more into this.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay.
What do we got? Final thoughts.
All right. So the best for last, what we absolutely hated about this movie, I'm just going to blow through this. Everything with Finn, I hated.
We haven't gotten into that.
No. So Finn's entire side quest is unnecessary and stupid.
Talk about CGI. I mean, what a coincidence.
Yeah.
The worst CGI ever.
Right. And
right back to Star Wars 3.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Harry Potter.
Yeah. Right. Combined weirdly.
And, what's that stupid movie with Tober? With the horses?
Oh, what, Seagate or whatever?
Seaboy. And that. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah, the worst thing ever.
And like alternative motives, random.
Right. Some serious agenda being pushed there.
Slavery, animal abuse.
The 1%er, kind of
the
wealth inequality.
It was really weird, and it didn't fit
at all.
I think you didn't like that there was a side quest at all because it goes into time.
Well, okay, yeah. So my major concern with it, honestly, I'm okay with the setting, whatever. I didn't like it really at all. I didn't like anything about it. But if you're going to have a side quest like this, it cannot fundamentally destroy the pacing of the movie, and I felt that this did. And what I mean by that is that their whole problem that's going on is taking place in a series of hours, right? How do you have time to literally leave, for however long, and then stand on the balcony and be like, look at these poor animals and children that are, no, we need to get back. We need to find our person we're here to get and go back.
Right. Go back.
Okay, I mean, and then even disregarding any of that, their entire plan doesn't work at all. It totally fails because whoever they managed to grab, whether he was the real hacker or not, turns against them. And yeah, I mean, it's so stupid.
Again, on the fence. I hated the actual place they went to.
Yeah, I mean, that sucked too.
I hated Rose and I hate Finn forever. However, I wasn't against them having to do something to try something else. It's pros and cons. I really liked Poe's development because I think maybe I can relate to it, kind of.
Yeah, just sort of kind of
rebelling hot shots aren't always right.
Sure, yeah.
Which is you don't frequently see that. So it's another one I was they don't really do that. It wasn't really expected. Now, was it smart and did it make sense? No, because it could have ended with Purple Lady saying, yeah, we're going to get the transports loaded up.
Or we're going to this
planet. Whole movie.
We're going to the planet that's right there.
Literally,
you could see it the entire time, and she didn't tell anybody.
Right, they move 4 miles the whole movie, and they can't see the big blue planet. Stupid. She didn't tell anybody. Stupid. However, it was, Rose and whatever his face didn't complete their mission. Kind of dumb. It was all to serve post-growth.
But that's fine.
His character development,
I feel
which I appreciated. The actual development. Now, everything around it, setting it up, was all pretty bad and didn't make much sense. And really accented, the cherry on top is that stupid planet with the CGI, everything was stupid. And Rose in general was a horrible actress. Finn is a terrible actor. Their chemistry was worse than anything I've seen, maybe ever. I don't know.
Worse than Padme and Anakin.
Disney
for sure.
Channel quality chemistry we're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Just horrible. The alternative motives, to go back to those. Why? Random. Why?
Oh my gosh. So, okay, to emphasize on that, one of my next things that I hated absolutely was basically every single line that Rose said. Every line. I hated every word that came out of her mouth. Here are some real numbers.
Hold on before you get into that. I don't know if anyone's seen Justice League. It's basically that whole movie is an accumulation. Is a combination. A combination of those lines. The whole Justice League movie is those like
the one-liners that all suck.
Yeah, like one after another. Like from every character, it's like no writing. It's just like they Googled like, how do I really get back at them? Like, how do I really get them good? And then they just like. So yeah, I totally agree. There were those stupid moments in this movie. A lot of them come from Rose, but not just Rose.
No, definitely not.
Okay, go ahead.
But I hated everything that Rose said. So 3 perfect examples of this was, they're at the casino planet. They're overlooking, like they see all the people in their splendor or whatever. And she says, only one business in the galaxy can get you this rich. Right, which of course they're talking about selling weapons to the First Order or whatever, but then they also turn out to be selling weapons to the Resistance too. So it's like,
I didn't even really catch that.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Well, it's so dumb because obviously that's not true. Like there's other ways to get So
anyway, that's just feeding their narrative,
their agenda, or whatever. Dumbest line in the whole movie is probably when they just had their great escape on these horse rabbit dog things or whatever they are, and they're space horses, and they ride through and they crash through the casino, and their Harry Potter creatures are trying to run out of the way to get out of the way, and they manage to make it into a cornfield, and then they're like, well, what do we do now? And they let them go. They take off the saddle and they like run off into the wilderness like half a mile away.
By the way, up until this point, they failed their mission.
Right, nothing has worked out, and then Rose says the line, "Now it's worth it because the animals are free."
Because she let the horse camel go.
Right, and so it's like not only are those horses just about to be captured again, because they have flying ships that are going to like pick them up and like take.
And they're
them.
on an island, I'm pretty sure.
Right, so yeah, totally. Not worth it at all, especially considering the gravity of the entire plot, which is that the First Order is ultimately going to destroy the Resistance because you've been wasting all your time not getting the hacker and instead freeing slave horses that will be recaptured.
Now it was worth it.
Right. And then the last line, which is when Rose comes in and totally ruins the perfect moment of Finn sacrificing himself for his friends and for the Resistance. And it's a beautiful moment because one thing that I pointed out that we had discussed after we first saw the movie was that Finn was the only one who really knew the magnitude of this cannon. He's the only one who really understands what it can do.
Well, presumably.
Yeah.
You've never seen it.
Well, no, but that's the thing. No, because he was in the First Order. He was the one who told them about it when they were in the bunker or whatever. He's like, I know what that is.
Yeah, okay.
So he's the one.
I'll buy it.
Yeah, anyway, I just thought that kind of enhances this moment where it's like, no, we need to destroy this thing, right? And he's willing to sacrifice himself because of how much of a threat it poses the rest of his friends.
Yeah, I wish he died.
Right. And then Rose comes in, ruins the moment, worst thing ever, and then she says that that's how we're going to win. Not fighting what we hate, but saving what we love. And it's just, I don't know. It's a throwaway line. It's garbage. I don't think it means anything.
Pretty cringy, too.
Right.
And just cringeworthy.
It's like, I kind of get the idea of what they're trying to say is like they need to be more impassioned about their cause and less about destroying what they hate. And that may be part of Finn's arc, which is like he's trying to get maybe revenge on the First Order or whatever.
Stupid. Let Finn die. Yeah. Please. Me and my whole family went with like 8 people. Every one of us was like, yeah, this feels right.
He should have died.
He was just going to die. Just kill him. And don't Don't tease me about it. That's so dumb. Okay, and 2, that's another thing about like subpar movies, especially in writing, where it's like, well, we have this thing we want them to think, but we don't want to show them. We just want to give somebody a really stupid and poorly written line, and then make them act as if they've never seen a camera. And then I think we're good. I think that my narrative and my point was good. Somebody checked that off. And not only somebody, but a team of people
checked that off.
They're like, dude, this scene makes my heart feel. And meanwhile, with their poor disconnect from audiences, everyone worldwide is like, they're like, ugh.
Well, and
she's like, we're going to save the ones we love. And we're like, no, come on.
And it's supposed to, like, hint at some sort of chemistry between them, which, of course, is totally out of nowhere because there's absolutely no chemistry between them whatsoever.
So stupid. And right after one of the most disappointing parts of the movie, too, was when he didn't die.
Which is really sad.
Don't kill him. Okay, whatever. Kind of predictable, to be honest, because Finn is the new whatever. Right? He's one of the new main guys, so they probably won't kill him, although I would have been happy if they did. So disappoint us, then feed us the worst line of the movie. I mean, just hit it back to back.
Right.
Meanwhile, one of the coolest scenes is happening.
It's just about to happen.
Underneath our feet.
Yeah.
The sand, the planet, the design, it's like, we're
really
ready.
Good.
Then no one dies, of course. Somehow Finn drags like Rose's body through the battlefield.
Miles! I mean,
no ship
so
and like
far.
40 of those massive robot things. They could just be like, oh, I think there's a thing you could target. Like minutes before or after, they're like, I want every laser we have on that man. Like Luke, and then they just shoot him with like thousands of lasers. But for some reason, they're like, oh, is that Finn? I remember him. They're like, hey, and they just let him live. Stupid. Again, everything. Dumb. Anyways.
Last few things.
Yeah, let's wrap it.
So, we've already discussed this, but the entire plot of the movie, which is just a 4-mile, or however long it is, it's irrelevant because they move at the speed of slugs.
Right.
For the entire movie, just barely, like, out of range, and these guys are like, hey, we're just gonna keep chasing them until they run out of fuel. They don't think, like, hey, why don't we just, like, warp to here, and then to here, and then we'll be, like, right in range. Here. Yeah. It was so dumb. And then not only that, but they also couldn't, like, predict where they were going, like, because the planet's, like, right over there, right?
Another point, small point. They didn't want to warp at the beginning because, well, the warp tracker, right?
Yeah.
Light speed tracker.
Yeah.
But 2, they're low on fuel. However, they go for, like, 10 hours or 6 or 5, and then they warp fine. So they could have warped and then gone for another 5.
Yeah.
But
they
of course they didn't need to because there's a planet right there, which is an abandoned rebel base for its massive protections. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, they had to give enough time for Finn to go to the casino planet, so.
Let's wrap it.
Okay, well.
This has been a long one. Overall, I didn't like it. I thought there was parts that were cool. It's Star Wars. It's like, that's another thing too, is like, Star Wars has just this thing. And it's like, we all want to, we all kind of just accept it. It's like it's a Star Wars movie. So I went in this movie, and the first time I saw it, I was like, well, it wasn't amazing, but I had cool parts because it's like, oh, I saw Luke, and I saw lightsabers, and I saw Force, and I saw whatever. But if it was like a bad Marvel movie, which, by the way, I'm a huge superhero fan most of the time. But if it's a bad Marvel movie, I'm just ready to be like, I freaking hated it. Where it's like, it's hard for me to say that about Star Wars because it's like,
well, I'm of a different mind.
It's like, Star Wars.
Like I really felt.
Hold on, sorry. Proof of that. It just beat every movie of 2017. Gross, highest grossing movie of 2017.
Well, that's to be expected.
Well, there's been 15 Marvel movies.
I know, but
so that proves what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
there's this thing that Star Wars has.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get what you're saying. I'm of a different mind though because I feel like I, at this point, was willing to hold Star Wars to a higher standard, right? I felt that after The Force Awakens and Rogue One, it was like, okay, maybe they finally learned, like, what they're doing, and then they can really pull something off. And then to be this disappointed, to have this many cringe-worthy moments in this movie, I mean, it just, I never cringed once during The Force Awakens or during Rogue One at all. No part of it was cringeworthy to me. I didn't like Force Awakens, fine.
No,
But
you liked it the first time you
I
saw
did.
it.
I did like it, but then over time it was like, okay, it's not as good as I thought. That's totally different than me walking out of the theater completely disappointed because of, literally just cringe moment after cringe moment in this whole. I
Again, agree to
did
disagree.
very disappointed. So
Agree
ultimately,
to disagree. I left Force Awakens, hated it, all of it. I left this movie, I was like, well, that's kind of good.
right.
Now, at thinking about it and having seen it twice, second time I hated it a lot more. Thinking about it, it's like, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But ultimately, I think, just like major disappointments was, I felt that Luke was underutilized, and in the end he dies, right? Which is fine. I'm okay with that. But like, he did nothing. He didn't even train Rey, right? He did nothing. Nothing.
What is it that one guy said? Lesson 1 was the
Right.
Force exists. Lesson 2 is move some rocks, and lesson 3 didn't exist. There
There was no lesson.
Yeah.
3. I'll give you 3 lessons.
Anyway.
Okay, so Luke, totally disappointed. Rey and Kylo should have teamed up, and Finn should have died. Those are the things that I wanted to. That like they set up. They were going to do it, and then they didn't do it, and I was extremely disappointed.
Yeah. If I had to rate it 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a. Feeling like maybe a low 4.
Yeah.
But never mind. Go ahead.
I was gonna say probably a 3.5 or a 4. Is mine also.
Wow. All right.
I
didn't. It's like
that's the thing. There were some really cool moments to this movie. Some really
Yeah.
new ideas being expressed. It was enjoyable. There were some funny moments, but ultimately, like at its core, it's like eating a piece of something really delicious, but in the very middle of it is like just nasty. That's what it felt like to me. So I 3.5, 4.
I'm gonna give it a 5. I'll be
A little more optimistic.
yeah. I'll be a little bit nicer. I'll give it a 5. I'd watch it again, and I think that adds up to something.
Sure.
Because there's many other movies I would never watch again.
Yeah.
It's agree to disagree. Anyway, that's The Last Jedi for you. Hope you liked listening to our jargon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead and
Ramble on.
give us
forever.
a comment saying what you thought of Force Awakens, how we were wrong, what did we get wrong?
Yeah, we love it. Tell us what you think, please.
Um.
Stick around. We're gonna have more coming up.
Yeah.
Cheers.
See ya.